Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. So Liverpool have just somehow managed to draw with Sevilla 3-3 in the Champions League after being 3-0 up at half-time. And the sad thing is, we're not hugely surprised. I mean, we were surprised when we came out for the second half and the team were playing just completely differently to how they played in the first half. Their heads were gone. They didn't have any foothold in the game. Sevilla were just dominating the ball like they hadn't done in the first period. And from there on in, everything just felt like a formality, really. You know, first goal very early on gives them a momentum. You thought, yep, that's standard. Alberto Moreno get back to giving away penalties and making mistakes against Sevilla. That's standard. Late equaliser from a corner. That's standard. And Liverpool come away now desperately needing a result in their last game to make it through to the last 16 of the Champions League. You know, in the last minutes of a game, to go from securing your passage to the round of 16 and securing your place at the top of the group to now being worried that you're not even going to make it through to the knockout stages and you're going to end up in the Europa League for the second half of the season, it's just not good enough. It's just nowhere near good enough. It's ridiculous. And again, like I said, the sad thing is we're not hugely surprised. I mean, breaking the goals down one by one. The first one, I mean, a lot of people are blaming Moreno. They say he should get to that. But I mean, he's on the sort of front post area. He's not meant to deal with those kind of situations. He's meant to deal with when the ball is too low and he can just head it away easily. Someone should be picking up Ben Yedder from there. He shouldn't be allowed to make that run and break away from whoever was supposed to be marking him and just head it in completely unmarked up against a player like Alberto Moreno, who has no idea that he's there. I mean, if Moreno looks behind him to look for Ben Yedder, he's not looking at the ball. And if he does that, you'd be calling him stupid and you're saying, what are you doing, Alberto? So I don't know who was meant to be picking up Ben Yedder, but someone got it wrong there. And that was just one of the first examples of how Liverpool completely let their heads go and lost their foothold in the game in that second half. And then the second goal, that is Alberto Moreno's fault. I mean, I'm excusing him for the first, but the second one, absolutely 100%. What's he doing? I just don't understand it. I mean, why are you stamping on someone's foot in the box? It's not even like he's properly going for the ball. He gets nowhere near it. His technique for tackling is completely off. He just stamps on Ben Yedder's foot, gives away the penalty, and suddenly it's 3-2. And Sevilla are suddenly looking like the team who are actually more likely to win the game, despite Liverpool being ahead from what was, bear in mind, a fantastic first half. And I'd love to sit here and rave about the first half and how good we were and how we blitzed Sevilla, how lovely the goals were, how much I love Roberto Firmino, how happy I am to see him get another brace for Liverpool. But I just can't do that, because I can't do that and just ignore the fact that Liverpool completely blew it in the second half, because it does feel like a loss. It feels like all that work in the first half was for absolutely nothing. And then the third goal, that was an interesting one, wasn't it? I mean, a lot of people are saying they just stopped watching the game as soon as Sevilla got a corner with a minute and a half left with the score at 3-2 to Liverpool. It was almost exactly the same as the situation against Watford earlier on in the season. And surprise, surprise, Liverpool haven't learned from it. They haven't learned from their mistakes. Yet again, you know, haven't learned about second balls, haven't learned about just running towards the ball when it comes into the box. No one sticks with their man. No one sticks to Pizarro. And he's left in like 2, maybe even 3 yards of space in the box for a corner with a minute and a half left with us 3-2 up. That's just not good enough. That should not be allowed. Jurgen Klopp should not be letting the players get away with something like that. He should not be given the space and time to get that shot away. And there's maybe a criticism of Loris Karius, you know, should he have done better with that goal? But I mean, how's he supposed to expect that that chance is even going to occur in the first place, let alone somehow also get through a crowd of bodies and find its way into the net? So just ridiculous, to be honest. Just absolutely ridiculous. And again, just disappointing that it's not a surprise. I mean, I've been raving on this channel for the last few videos about how Liverpool have improved their game management, about how much their form has improved. And I've been really impressed with how they've been playing and how they've been dealing with these kinds of situations in games where maybe the pressure's on a little bit. How they've seen those moments out and carried on and seen it through to a full 3 points. And it's just all been for nothing by the looks of it. It just feels like all of that hard work to get the team into the right winning mindset that we saw in the first half, you know, that felt like the pinnacle of where the team's been headed for the last few weeks and months now, really. The amount of work that they've been putting in to make themselves a proper footballing machine. And they threw it away in 45 minutes, and it's just baffling. I mean, taking a look at the players individually, Lovren and Klavan were actually weirdly decent for most of the game. Obviously, for all the goals, they've got to do better. They're the centre-backs. They should be taking command of these situations, and they just don't. They just don't. So there's 3 glaring errors that they've made during that game, but apart from that, they were weirdly okay. They were kind of solid. They seem to have a lid on things and everything like that. It's just disappointing that, like the rest of the team, they let themselves down 3 times in the second half, and it led to us drawing the game. I nearly said losing the game there, because again, that's what it feels like. And Gomez was weirdly shaky during that game. He never looked like he had a control over what was going on. He always looked like he was, getting done. I mean, the early moment, I can't remember who it was, it might have been Vitolo or something like that, who just completely turned him. Gomez went sliding, and it was only thanks to a brilliant save from Loris Karius that it didn't go 1-1, go to 1-1 at that point earlier on in the game. So yeah, really weird and not very good performance from Joe Gomez, which is annoying given that he's the kind of right back that we put in the team when we want a little bit of defensive stability and a little more control over that area of the pitch. So that was disappointing to see. Moreno just kind of fell back into old habits, to be honest. He had a fairly sort of average first half, and then the second half was just a nightmare. It was just ridiculous, it's old Moreno, but I'm not going to start going after Moreno, and I don't think anyone should. And it's nice to see that most people are saying, look, he's had a rubbish time during that game. He had a rubbish 10 or 15 minutes in the second half, but he's had a really good season so far. So I don't think we should suddenly just banish Alberto Moreno again, but really disappointing performance from him. But the ones who really disappointed me in that game were Jordan Henderson and Jorginho Wijnaldum, because in those kind of situations, you've got to help the defence out, because it was clear, especially when it went to 3-2, that Liverpool were looking to sit back, soak up pressure, and hopefully get a goal on the break. And when you sit back like that, your midfield needs to be the area of the pitch where you're doing the most of the work, especially Henderson in the number 6. He needs to be sweeping things up, intercepting passes, protecting the back four, preventing Sevilla from getting any real momentum together. And he just didn't do any of it. And Wijnaldum didn't do any of it either. It's just ridiculous how anonymous they were at such an important stage of the game. Jordan Henderson, he's fine when Liverpool are winning, and he was fairly decent in the first half. But as soon as things go to pot, as the captain and the number 6, he needs to be the player who really takes the game by the scruff of the neck and says, look, lads, this is how it's going to pan out. We've got this. It's fine. And he just doesn't do that. And Wijnaldum doesn't really help him out either. He just completely vanished off the face of the earth after the second Sevilla goal. So, a rubbish performance from him as well. Coutinho, can't really blame him for much of what went on. He had a fairly decent first half, was hooked off early on in the second after the second goal. Emre Can came on for him and he did okay. He put in a few decent tackles, kind of kept things under control a little bit, but at the end of the day, we drew the game, and Emre Can was brought on to stop that, so you can't really give him too much credit on that. Milner came on for Moreno, who I mentioned earlier. He was kind of same as Emre Can, he was okay, he kept things ticking over. Very disappointing that he didn't lay it on a plate for Oxlade-Chamberlain at 3-2 very late in the game. He had a great opportunity there. All he needed to do was give it to Oxlade-Chamberlain, who would have had an open goal, and he just weirdly put the ball behind him, so that was really annoying, and at the end probably cost us the win. As for the front three, Firmino did pretty good, a very good first half from him. Would have liked to have seen a little bit more hold-up play in the second. I talked about how the midfield were meant to be helping out the defence, but the centre forward can always help out a little bit by just holding up the ball, keeping it in the opposition's half and giving the rest of the team a little bit of a rest. He didn't really do that, but then again, that's not Firmino's strength, so if Klopp really wanted the team to do that, he probably should have brought on Dom Solanke. Sadio Mane, great first half, alright, second half, he had a few ideas, tried to get some things going, never really worked out for him. I was quite disappointed in Mo Salah, to be honest, because the first half went very well, but it kind of passed him by. He wasn't too involved. And in the second half, we really needed his pace on the counter-attack to try and get us that fourth goal that would have just calmed everyone's nerves and pretty much put the game to bed. So, disappointing performance from him. But really, for me, the main culprits are just Jorginho Wijnaldum and completely, utterly worst player on the pitch, Jordan Henderson. Just an appalling performance from him. And even I am starting to have really major doubts over whether that guy deserves to be Liverpool captain. Personally, if we were choosing who the armband went to now and Henderson didn't already have it, then it would almost definitely not go to him. I think by virtue of the fact that he already has the armband, that's kind of the reason that he's keeping it. So I think we have to wait and see, because Emre Can was meant to be the one who's going to come through and be Liverpool captain, but he's got all this rubbish going on with Juventus, so you can hardly give him the armband at the moment. But just a pain, just a real pain in the neck, Liverpool are at the moment, aren't they? And I'm just really worried about that Moscow game now, because now we've seen how Liverpool perform when the pressure's on and when they've got to manage a game and keep things under wraps. If that's how we play against Spartak Moscow, it's Europa League football for us in 2018, honestly. That was just ridiculous, and the team needs to sort it out quick, because it is Chelsea at the weekend, and what we need that first half performance, and we don't need that second half performance, because if we put that in again against Chelsea, then, you know, we can pretty much forget top four at this stage as well. So very, very worrying times for Liverpool, but I mean, just fingers crossed that it was just one game and it was just a mad 45 minutes. I guess we'll find out at the weekend. So that is all for today's video. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm sorry if I've been a bit subdued or lost for words. Just the result has just completely taken it out of me. You know, I can't believe Liverpool have done that to us again. But hey-ho, it is what it is. That's football. That's life. And hopefully we can kick on to the game against Chelsea at the weekend. So I will see you soon for the pre-match content for that game. So do stay tuned for that. If you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button there. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few days as well. And I'll see you in a bit for that pre-match content for the game against Chelsea. And don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter as well. Bye for now.